There's a common Social Security myth that's out there, especially for those that are collecting prior to full retirement age, that I think we need to dispel today. Something that I notice a lot of retirees worry about is when they decide to collect prior to the full retirement age, but they still want to continue working. And that problem is that if you make too much money at your job, you have too much earned income, you can miss out on some Social Security benefits. And while that is technically true, it is somewhat misleading when it comes to how these benefits actually work. What we're going to do today is talk through how this works. And most importantly, I think dispel the rumor that these benefits are lost forever. And most importantly, allow you to make a decision that if you want to collect early but still work, what you can do to make sure that you're not losing out on any Social Security benefits and make sure you're maximizing the benefit that you have. If we've not yet met, my name is Danny Cieniewicz. I'm a CFP professional from Hyperion Financial. Be sure to check out the link in the description, which will go through a quiz that you can fill out to give you a free video on how you can best plan your taxes in retirement. And also check this out right here. This is something that we have that we offer completely free. It's our financial assessment, where if you upload some of your documents, you can get this at no cost and get a better idea of how our team at Hyperion Financial can help you plan your retirement on your terms. Nearly every retiree that we meet, we come across the question of when should I be collecting Social Security? And if the answer is prior to full retirement age, which in some cases it can make sense for some folks, the question that often comes up is, well, what happens if I decide to go back to work or if I continue working? And this is where a withheld benefit can be a real thing. What you want to keep in mind is that if you're retiring from any time from 62 to your full retirement age, for most folks now that could be 67, if that is the case, then you could have some of your benefits withheld. And the earnings limit actually works like this. If you are making more than $23,400 in the year 2025, for every $2 that you earn, $1 of benefit would be withheld. So, in other words, if you're earning $25,400 from a job that you're currently working, you would earn $2,000 over the limit. Therefore, $1,000 of your Social Security benefit would be withheld. Obviously, as you continue to make more of your benefit is withheld. In the year in which you reach your full retirement age, it does work a little bit differently. What you'll notice is that the income limit actually goes up. And in 2025, that income limit is $62,160. It also is a case where $1 is withheld for every $3 that you go over the income limit. So if you want to plan to actually collect prior to full retirement age, but in the year in which you hit your full retirement age, there is a little bit more benefit that goes out there. Keep in mind too that in months prior to your full retirement age benefit, those are the months that are going to count. So anything that you earn after your full retirement age month is not going to apply. And then lastly, once you hit your full retirement age, you can earn as much money as you would like with no penalty whatsoever. So a number of people are familiar with this, especially if you're planning to retire early or collect Social Security or transition from full-time to part-time. Many folks that we've encountered are aware of this rule, but yet many folks hold off from going full-time to part-time for the reason of withheld benefits. They want to make sure that they get the most out of Social Security, and for plenty good reason. But what I think is often misunderstood is that these benefits are lost forever. Newsflash, they're not. They're just withheld. Instead of holding these forever and Social Security just hoarding that and keeping that and giving that out to somebody else, they basically just take your withheld benefits and they recalculate that to pay you back at your full retirement age. And what's even better is they don't just pay these benefits back, they pay you as if you deferred the entire time. So you get a cost of living adjustment and you get the standard 8% increase in which you get for each year in which you defer. So let's actually look at an example to show that this isn't the end of the world, that this is something that you're planning on. Let's meet Sarah, who's a 62-year-old retiree. She has an $1,800 a month Social Security benefit in the year in which she starts to collect. Based on her earnings between 62 and full retirement age, she has about 18 months worth of withheld benefits. Being that that is the case, what Social Security will do is actually recalculate her benefit at full retirement age. So once she hits full retirement age, Social Security is going to withhold those benefits and recalculate them. Therefore, she's going to get a new monthly benefit of about $2,050 per month as opposed to the $1,800 per month. So she will get a step up at the time of her full retirement age, despite having withheld benefits prior to then. And where I think this becomes important is to make sure that if you are still planning to work and earn income prior to reaching your full retirement age, depending on how much it is, it could still pay off as a strategy. You just want to make sure you're aware of this rule and what this means. Just because if you're planning to collect prior to full retirement age, the number that you see on your social security statement may not be what you're actually netting out. The other thing to keep in mind, though, is that as you continue to work and receive this benefit, you can make as much as you would like at full retirement age. So perhaps it is worth deferring and just waiting until full retirement age. The good part about this benefit is the flexibility that's promoted within this. If you really do want to retire early or scale to part time work, but you notice that you're just barely going to go over that benefit, this isn't something that should necessarily preclude you from collecting early. You just want to be aware that this could end up happening if you go over the annual limit. Now, something else that's important to understand is that the year in which you do apply for Social Security, if you're going prior to full retirement age, is they take the monthly benefit, not the annual benefit. So, what does that mean? Well, a brief example would be that if I am 62 years old and I decided to collect or start my benefit in June of that year, the annual benefit limit is not applicable from January to May. However, what will end up happening is each month, if I go over the annual limit divided by 12, which in this case would be $1,950, that could lead to a withheld benefit in the first year in which I retire. Now, moving forward at 63 and beyond, it would then go to an annual limit. So, in the first year in which you are looking to collect early, it's just a monthly cap that you're subject to. Moving forward, prior to your full retirement age, it's an annual cap. But this is part of a larger discussion of, is it worth collecting early or is it worth to consider delaying? And again, as many of these questions or these topics come up, while it may depend, it will also have impacts on your financial plan in general. The question that you need to be asking yourself is, do you have a spouse who's relying on your Social Security income? And at your passing, you may be passing along a higher benefit if you defer for both your own benefit, but also for your spouse's benefit. There are also tax implications with Social Security. And as we've covered quite a bit, the way in which Social Security is taxed is going to depend on other income. We also want to keep in mind life expectancy with this decision, because the longer that you live, if you have a decreased Social Security benefit, you're going to need those dollars to stretch further, or you're going to need to have other sources of income in which you can supplement as inflation continues to rise. So making sure that you have a plan in place for this, more than just a I want to collect early decision, is something that you should be keeping in mind. When it comes down to it, there are generally four things that you should be keeping in mind when it comes to collecting your Social Security. The first thing that you want to keep in mind is your health. If you are in good health and you look like you're going to live a long time in retirement, then it might be worth considering delaying. The other thing to keep in mind, though, and equally as important, is your spouse and your spouse's health. If they have a lower benefit than you do, they can always step up and receive your benefit at your passing. This also works in reverse. If you feel like you're in poor health and maybe your spouse is in poor health, then perhaps it is one reason to consider collecting early. The other thing to keep in mind are your financial needs. Do you have other assets or other types of plans that can create income? Do you have other type of assets that you feel confident in that you can withstand some market corrections here or there and yet still provide for a stable income? Social Security will definitely provide stability, but when it comes to inflation, while there can be some COLA adjustments, generally retirees are not keen to say that this is the one account or the one type of income that is going to do its best job to keep pace with inflation. And lastly, the question also becomes your work satisfaction. Do you really enjoy working, and do you enjoy what you do? Do you enjoy doing it full time? Are there other passions or pursuits that you have in mind that you feel like work is no longer something that you want to be doing? If that is the case, then maybe it does make sense to collect earlier and not pause retirement or delay retirement in this case. This decision is not one I think that you should be taking lightly, but it's also one that you should be fully informed on. So if you're planning to collect Social Security and still have earned income, You just want to know what this entails. It doesn't necessarily mean a permanent reduction in benefit. It just means that the benefit will be paying to you at a later date. Which brings us to Social Security in general. I think there are two other common misconceptions that people have, and I'm going to link to two videos right now. The first one would be, I think, the worst reason to possibly collect Social Security early. The second one is to fully understand how survivor and spousal benefits work. Check out these videos here if you want a better idea of how to maximize your Social Security benefit.